with that being said, um, we're gonna just go ahead and get going, and hopefully that'll work. Um, so this is one of the things that I talk about a lot. We have to train with scientific methods to exceed the norms. Um, we have thousands of studies available to us, and the more that we understand our environment and the more we understand how canines think and how they work, the more effective that we become. Um, which seems pretty fairly straightforward. The canine olfactory system, we're talking, they detect odors in parts per trillion. That's 12 zeros behind it. We can find 1 teaspoon of sugar in a body of water the size of two Olympic swimming pools. So when we talk about our ability to actually detect these odors, it's like insane. We have no technology at all that can even come close to what our dogs are actually capable of. And I personally believe we haven't like quite figured out exactly how great they are, which is why it's really cool to kind of stay up to date on what kind of the best trainers and the best handlers are doing out there. Um, so I thought this was a really interesting picture. We've got um, our olfaction area in our brain is really, really tiny compared to what our dogs is, which is like a greater part. I don't think you can see my cursor, can you?
Yes,
Oh, you
I
can.
can.
Okay. So our olfaction bulb in their brain is like a huge, huge part in front of our frontal lobe in our dog. So you got the wimpy, 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 and hefty, hefty. And this is a cool little video I found. Is there sound to that for you guys?
Yeah.
Okay. Basically, what they're looking at, there's going to be a slow mo of how they're actually smelling, um, which is really neat once it gets to it. So they're sucking in all those odor particles through their nose and pushing it out the sides. So when we're handling our dogs, like we're looking, before we get to the final response, we're looking for like those huge behavior changes that are happening beforehand. A lot of times you'll see your change in breathing rate, you see your tail set difference, you see that mouth close. Um, a lot of different behaviors happen. Um, but I thought this was a really, really cool animation on what's actually going on when they're smelling. Um, and again, a lot of people know this already, but it's kind of cool just to go back to it. Um, Odor moves away from its source in the shape of a cone. The closer we are to the odor, the stronger the cone will be. And the farther we move away, the cone becomes wider, but the odor molecules also dissipate. Scent typically falls heavier than air, weather dependent, of course. And the velocity of the wind has a direct effect on the location, ability, and the strength of the scent cone. Um, and we see that a lot. Yeah, we see that every day we work our dogs. An exercise I really like to do is called a point to point, especially on a greener dog. I will have my odor source um, upwind, so the wind is pointing the direction, the side direction that my dog is going, and I'm going to quarter the field on a long line until I see that change of behavior happen. And of course, I'll allow my dog to go to source then. But that's when I really know, like when I'm training a young dog, that they really understand odor and they're actually going to it. And I'm using my scent cone and the way the dog works the scent cone to accomplish that. As handlers, we must become familiar with reading the wind flow and air and develop seeing what the canine is going to smell, therefore helping their ability to find the source odor. Odor a lot of times works a lot like smoke. So we have like the more dense smoke down here. And you can see it's going into a cone. And as it's going out, our odor molecules are spreading, which that's kind of the best thing. Back in the day, when I was hunting bad guys down, I used to carry a pack of cigarettes, not only as a kind of bargaining tool, but I could also tell what the wind was doing by what my cigarette was doing. Now you can, if you're like really anti-smoking, I get that. Some people will use incense to get the same thing. They also have a device called a Cirrus wind indicator, which it's a hunting device, but it kind of looks like a vape, and it's got like a little light and a puff, and it's kind of cool, especially when you're like in a really weird area inside and you can't 100% tell what your wind flow is doing in that spot. If it'll let me go on, that would be really nice. Here's another one I thought was really interesting. So our smoke bombs really help see what's going on. So you'll see there's a window over here, and our odor is getting literally like sucked out that way towards the windows in the doorway. And when like a lot of us that have more experience working kind of buildings and warehouses and stuff, we might not, our dogs might have a change of behavior more so over here than necessarily right on top of it, because that's where it's going the most. And when she brings it outside, it's also sucking right back inside. So really cool to think about when, and replace my smoke bomb here with our HR or our odor source. And you'll see our odors really behave in a similar way. And learning how to kind of see that without, putting a smoke bomb off on a real case, like that's really, really helpful in trying to figure out what our dogs are actually telling us. All right. So getting to some of like the weirder things that can happen, the bowl problem, knowing how to read your environment so you know where to direct that dog's nose. We're talking, yeah. Hello. All right. Never mind then. So learning how to read a certain problem based on kind of what our environmentals are going to be really important. I've seen all of these, of course, in training and out of training. So we've got our looping, which sometimes we'll have pockets of odor happening, and then all of a sudden our dogs are out of it. Sometimes pockets of odor, then out of it. Our scent cone, that's kind of our basic one. The fanning, where it's above our dog's head, we're in odor up here, and then all of a sudden it's like, what the heck is going on? Fumigating, where all that odor is piling here, and it's not necessarily happening closer to our victim. And then lofting, which is, again, going to be above our heads. We have a big change of behavior up here, and we're losing it down there. There are times when the target odor will not be present, even though you are close to target odor. It's your job to know why. I have a personal story. My dog, I of course used to run a narcotics canine, and I had a semi pulled over, and I'm running the car, and all of a sudden my dog steps back over here. Like if the white part is my semi, all of a sudden my dog steps back over here, looks up, and gives his final response. What happened there was that they had 2 pounds of meth on the top in a secret compartment, and the part next to the truck here was a void space for my dog. But I had basically a whole pile of odor happening way out here. But if I wasn't able to read that environment, that guy would have gotten away with his pounds of meth. With more on this, heat and humidity, your weather conditions, and barometric pressure affect the way odor acts. Humidity and heat or lack thereof affects scent as directly as wind does. Much like the evaporation process, heat causes odor molecules to rise. Cold weather pushes the odor down. For our trackers in this group, most of our dogs in the heat will track with a higher headset, where in the colder weather we have more nose down, and those pavement grinders. You have those hounds that are freaks and just have their nose on the ground no matter what, but the majority of our trailing dogs, when it's hot, their head will be higher. Humidity, of course, is the measure of water vapor in the air, and odor sticks to water vapor due to the adhesion and cohesion properties of water molecules. Water has a polar nature and allows them to form hydrogen bonds, creating a sticky effect that plays a vital role in many biological processes, including odor. So, and this applies to all disciplines, but when you first start, of course, you're tracking. Most people tell you go out when it's super early, dew's still on the ground, so that way you're getting the most amount of human odor in the thing. But this is also applies to our HRD handlers, that that water really helps make the odor picture louder for our dogs. Will I get to the point? Probably not. I'll probably just keep talking, but whatever. So getting back to our 4 stages of detection, we've got our intent, which is our actual search ethic, the alert, which is our change of behavior, interest, and then our trained final response or indication. I have a couple of video examples, I believe, next. Oh, it'll come, I swear. So intent is demonstrated by the canine's focus, attitude, and willingness to search. This is an inherited genetic trait that the canine must possess in order to be a successful working dog. All other aspects of performance are dependent on training. The intent is natural. Intent is also the level of motivation the canine has at the start of work and what carries them through to the finale. So this is why we're looking for, for the majority of times, we're looking for like dogs that are just freaks about a ball or freaks about food, and just are too stupid to give up. This is, of course, that's our ideal candidate for a search and rescue dog, and really any detection dog, is that intent is the most important thing. The alert is the canine's initial and trained reaction to odor that results in a readable signal. This is observable and articulate change that happens when the canine comes into the odor cone. It's a physical, physiological, emotional, and psychological change in behavior. So this is where the natural things come. Like a lot of times we'll see our dogs, our tail wag, our mouth closing, our change of breathing pattern. These are all the things that happen naturally before we get to our trained final response. I know, again, so many people have so much experience here, and a lot of people will tell you the first thing that goes in a high stress environment is that trained final response. So like knowing what your dog's alert behaviors are really, really, really important. So that way, when you're not just relying on that sit, but you're relying on the entire behavior chain before the sit happens. So that way, again, I'm preaching be effective, without the sit or without the bark, and then that way we can work as a team and get her done. Potential alert behaviors, change of pace or direction, that button hooking behavior, really big deal. Tail activity changes. Some dogs will do like a helicopter tail. Some dogs get really stiff. Mouth closure, that's a big one. They're running with their mouth wide open, getting all those scent particles in their mouth. And then when that mouth closes, they're using that Jacobson's organ to help make sense of the odor molecules in the air. ADHD moment with the Spinny. I was just talking about that. Why does a canine close their mouth when they're in odor? A dog has an organ humans do not possess called the Jacobson's organ or the glomerular nasal organ, which is in between taste and scent. That means your dog can use their mouth to catch odor as well as their nose. When a dog closes their mouth in odor, they are in the honing in mode, now just using their nose to catch the odor molecules instead of using both their nose and their mouth. So interest is the enthusiasm and desire to trace the odor to its source. It occurs after the alert and before the trained final response. This includes your change of sniff rate, the bracketing back and forth to try to pinpoint, and your actual pinpointing behaviors. The trained final response, this is the readable response at the closest location to the source of the odor. Majorly influenced by both training and performance, this is the final behavior that tells the handler exactly where the odor is and allows the dog to receive his motivator. Again, for our young dogs, this is the very first thing that you lose, like in a real situation. So like knowing the rest of the picture, as well as, of course, working your final response as much as possible, that's going to be the ticket to being an effective handler. And again, doesn't mean nothing if you don't have the first 3 steps. Your turn. So you're going to tell me, where's the intent? So the intent right here is the motivated start this dog has. So, and you'll see that alert behavior as he gets to the correct tire. He's going to hear, and then boom, big button hook there. His mouth closes, and back and forth with the high sniff rate, back to our final response. So with the answers there, we'll watch that again. So he's really, really motivated. Really, really motivated. And all of this can happen in a really short amount of time. We're going. Alert. Here's the interest. And final response. Here's another one. This is a sport dog. Initiation of the search upon the find it command. Here's a big button hook behavior and our final. So his interest section was faster, right? But again, I'm looking at that seeking behavior. I'm looking at that final response and him getting to it. So again, it's not just the down that I'm looking at. It's all of the behaviors that happen before my down happens. So the button hook, that mouth closing, he's given me everything else he's got. And our intent too, another example of intent is the ability to turn it back on when they found one piece of it. And on that second one, slower pace, head moves back and forth, and then we get our train final. This applies to all disciplines. So this is a tracking dog. The puppy is, oops, hang on. Oh, geez. Here we go. The puppy's hunting with her head down. Her alert behavior is we're going to see, once she gets past these stairs, we're going to see a change of pace. And she's only like 8 weeks old here, so give her a little grace. So there she's hunting. I think that's the first time she ever saw stairs, so she's figuring out how to navigate that. And once we get down here, and she still does this to this day, she'll be tracking, and then all of a sudden she starts what I call twerking. So she's running because we're closing in on our subject. Her head pops up, and then we get to our subject here. Now that we know the basics, we're going to notice, here's my dog working a field. We're going to notice that mouth close and the pace change at the ditch here. So here his mouth close, his pace changes. It's obvious he's hitting odor, but he leaves it. That's because even though the odor is present in the ditch, that's that bowl effect, the bone is actually upwind in the field. So the wind was pushing the odor of the bone into the ditch, and we had to let him work it out in order to get to where he needed to be, which is up here. So going back, he's working it, and the majority of the odor molecules for him fell down in here before he cleared it and said, no, it's up there. How do I get better at reading my dog? Your field searches are your best thing. For our toy motivated dogs, that means getting out there. I'm a big fan of the customs method. That's how I start the majority of my dogs on detection. The customs method meaning I have odor soaked towels, and it's a complicated game of fetch. I build their drive like crazy, so they'll kill themselves over a rolled towel. Get them nice and strong. I throw it in a field, and they're learning how to quarter and work a field all on their own without really any human interaction. So that enhances your overall detection ability, builds working independence in the canine, and a true obedience to the trained odors, enhances the search sequences to both on and off leash, and enhances, confirms, and reaffirms that trained odor has a ward association. And it's really important to teach them how to work independently. And then it teaches our young and green dogs how to bracket and how to actually work those scent cones without our influence. Another thing is that open space makes standing back and reading the behavior of the dog way easier. When we're not like right on top of them, you're going to see a lot more of the big picture and be able to Monday morning quarterback it. Another thing that, is common sense, but not so common. Stop looking at the hide if you're the one setting your own hides, and watch your dog. If you can't read the dog, if you're cueing them to where you hid your stuff, and I see this all the time. A lot of times handlers plant their feet and the dog's like, yeah, I could eat or I could use my reward, so I'll sit and see what happens, right? So we really want that to be just a really like cohesive thing. What I'm doing doesn't matter, and the worst thing you can do is be staring at your hide or be pointing that hide out every time. I'm a big believer in letting a dog fail, so that way I can set something up to make the dog succeed. Video your training. I swear by this. You can always go back and watch videos on what went right or what went wrong. You can't always dictate what happened in the moment. It helps you have those visual markers on what went right, and to me, more importantly, what went wrong. Gives you a chance to review not only the dog, but realize any cueing that you could be doing or holes in your handling. Both lead to more effective teams. That's not super important, but it's funny. How do I get better at reading my dog? Again, build a smart and effective training plan that addresses the faults in both the canine and the handler. There's no such thing as a perfect working dog, and there's no such thing as a perfect working handler. If you are the kind of person that thinks your dog can walk on water, like, you really need to step back and really look at where your weaknesses are, because every single dog has weaknesses. Every single handler has weaknesses. So your 3 categories of training: 1, teaching something new, enhancing what the canine already knows, or to get rid of an unwanted behavior. So our goals in training: 1, we have to identify the problem. Um, we have to say like, okay, I know that my dog has an issue doing this, right? So I have to admit that first. Then I'm going to brainstorm how we fix this. For our less experienced handler in these groups, like there's so much knowledge on this team. Like you could ask anybody, and as everything in dog training, there's a million different ways to skin the cat. So the problem solving on how to fix something is really important, and we have so many people that can help. Where are you going? Like, what is the end goal, and what's the perfect picture of what we're planning to do, and how do you plan on getting that picture? Have a plan and follow it to the T. Use your training tools and have knowledge on training, or train under somebody who does. Keep meticulous records of training sessions by videoing. I know some people really have good luck on writing their stuff down. I know when I write down my training stuff, my notes are really stupid, and sometimes it makes sense and sometimes it doesn't. So if I can go back and look at a video, that makes my life a lot easier. So back to our training applications, know what works and what doesn't. The proof is in the results. Don't waste valuable time on any training without seeing some results in a few sessions. And always remember relationship. Don't be a jerk to your dog, or your dog will treat you like you're a jerk. And know what your stress signals look like, so you can keep your learning sessions like short and to the point and fun. Because if they don't love their job, they're not going to do it when shit hits the fan. This one, if you don't see something within a couple training sessions, if I hear it a lot. Oh, I tried this for 3 months and it's still nothing, right? Then we have to switch our methods. Like if I can say honestly, I've tried with this dog for this thing for a week and I see nothing, I'm going to switch to a different method for that dog. Here's just a couple of so when we're in our learning phase, things that we need to pay attention to are lip licking, panting, our ears going to the side, moving slow, yawning, hypervigilance. Like we don't want to hit any of these things. Like we want to push, like we will add more stressors when they really understand like the point of their job. But at the beginning, if this is the kind of behavior you're seeing, then that's the point to step back, and then we're gonna kind of like reevaluate how we're coming about this. Now I'm going to start just reading the dictionary. Just kidding. That's the end of this one. Again, if you guys have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer any. I know we have a really great team that is willing to help in any way they can. Help people achieve their goals if you're really trying to get where you want to be. But does anybody have any questions on the information?
I do.
Yeah.
Hi. I guess I tuned in a little late, but I had to get my work done. When you were doing the smoke, a
Yeah.
lot of us carry powder. Do you think that's a good thing to kind of help with wind direction and where odor may be blowing?
I'm sorry, my computer made a stupid noise. Can you
Okay,
ask me that
powder.
question again?
Yeah, powder. Do you think
The
powder
powder.
is a good thing to carry to kind of keep track of the wind as we go? Because I know if we get into wooded areas, sometimes the wind changes quite a bit.
Yes. Powder is a really good one. Again, when I was working the street, I always had a pack of cigarettes
Yeah, I
because it's
heard
a
you
really
say
good,
that. Yeah.
really good
Mhm.
bargaining tool. But if you're working a dead dog, you don't really, they ain't getting any deader. So like they don't need a cigarette. So um, that powder is a really good tool. Some people will use I know one handler in Virginia that uses they're made for HVAC systems,
Oh
and they
yeah, the
don't.
little puffer thing, the little puffer thing.
Yeah, they're like a cylinder,
Yeah,
and you light it, but it doesn't create any heat. Um, so he uses those a lot. But
okay.
but really anything. Some of my old trackers, man, they'll pick up a blade of grass and just drop it and see what
Right,
happens.
right.
But your powder, smoke, kind of anything like that is a really good visual tool for us, um, to help read the environment.
Okay. And just an off the wall question, kind of doesn't pertain to most of our wildlife searches or wilderness searches. I was at a seminar and my dog indicated on metal, and she made a comment that metal does collect odor, and I'd never heard that before, and I wondered what your interpretation
Um,
of that is.
I hanging out with my sport dog people. In the obedience ring, they have an exercise that's handler discrimination. They have 9 dumbbells that look exactly the same, and the handler touches one of them. And most of the handlers prefer metal dumbbells because it absorbs the human odor
Ah,
better.
and I wouldn't think that of metal, but
I,
that was
I wouldn't either,
interesting.
but
Yeah.
again, hanging out with the obedience people that I do, I believe
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, yeah, me too. I mean that's what this instructor said too, so I it was a shock to me, kind of, or a surprise. Good info, good info. Okay, carry on. I'm done, I think.
All right. Does anybody have any other questions on this stuff? All right. I'm gonna just go through another one real quick. Just because we're all here and we might as well. If I can figure this out.
Oh, good, I want to stay alive.
That's the idea, is to keep the HR dogs out of business, right?
Or you get, or you guys are gonna use me. Okay.
I just don't want to end up in Vicky's freezer, you know?
I know, me either.
Up in Vicky's freezer.
Hey, I'm upgrading to a larger setup.
Got a body van.
Yeah, I got my van now, so I can like haul them around whole.
All right.
Oh, great. I'm thrilled about that.
You South Carolina with me now? I'm going for collections.
Oh, man. Great.
But I don't want to end up in it.
All right. So,
Picking up pedestrians.
this is, so the first one was more about like kind of handling and odor and just sort of like, training, the whole kind of thing. This is more applicable to our dogs that are going on missions, and things that I felt were important to tell my new handlers. So canine vital, your normal temp is between 100 and 102.5, working temp up to 106. Some handlers I know use they have microchips now that you can scan and they will tell you the temperature. It's really cool. I forget the exact brand. I know one of the handlers on my side has one, and basically like through the microchip, she scans it and can tell her dog's temperature. It's pretty sick.
Wow.
The ghetto way of doing this without sticking something up your dog's butt, stick your finger in their ear, know what it feels like, non-working and working, after strenuous exercise, and you can kind of gauge what's normal. Again, that's super ghetto, and Vicky will be mad at me for that, but
No,
Um,
actually, I was gonna say that's my trick with Salty when I'm out in the field is I check her ears. That is my go-to in the field, hands-on.
dude, and it works, like if it's
100%. We did it at the vet clinic. Like that's a legitimate check.
awesome. Awesome. So your pulse should be between 60 and 100. If you can't find the pulse in their neck, do it on the inside of the back leg. Count to 10, multiply by 6. Remember, use our songs, the same songs we use in CPR class, Staying Alive, or Another One Bites the Dust, depending on how good you are at CPR. The capillary refill should be less than 2 seconds. In dogs, the skin should come back instantly. We check that with their gums. You press down hard enough on their gums that it changes colors, and you time how long it comes to get back to normal. How to avoid a heat injury. Pay attention to the dog's tongue and the breathing rate. Know what time you started and what your dog is actually conditioned for. Stop and take breaks. Physically condition the dog in the weather that it works in. Time your dog at home, at their home works out, so you know what their limit actually is. If your dog won't drink while working, this is something I'm going to have to do for my dog, as we found out in Franklin County. You get a water bottle, you mix it with a couple of spoonfuls of wet dog food, and a lot of times that'll encourage them to drink, especially if you have a dog that's foodie. I had to do this for Dr. Phil's aunt that I used to handle, and I made the mistake of accidentally taking a sip of this, and it was not very good. So I suggest knowing which one's the dog water and which one's the people water if you're doing that. That's consider using cooling gear if you have it. I use the Kool-Aid by Weaver. It's pretty inexpensive. It can fit underneath the tracking harness. It's small enough to shove in a CamelBak to re-wet it. I don't use it as much when my dog is running full tilt, but when they're taking a break, I'll use it. With my tracking dog that I'm not running full tilt on, I will use it as, pretty much the fastest they're going is a trot, whereas like our HR dogs and our area search dogs are going balls to the wall. The rough wear is good. It's bulkier. It's probably better made, but it's also more expensive. And the only thing I don't really like how thick it is compared to the cheaper stuff, because then it'll hold it in. And any cool gear can turn dangerous if it doesn't stay cool, right? It turns into a jacket, keeps that heat in, and that's, of course, not what we want. Rapid cooling is now protocol for canines. Old wives' tale says slowly cool them so they don't go into shock, but now the military and tactical vets are recommending rapid cooling for heat injuries. So if you see the signs of heat injury, get them wet as soon as possible. Make sure the water is saturating to the skin, and always consider a heat injury an emergency. So especially as we're coming into summer, it's not a great survival rate if we're getting it too bad, accompanied by seizures and brain damage, and we don't want that. Know what your venomous snakes are in the areas that you're working in. In the United States, all of our anti-venom is the same because all of our venomous snakes are pit vipers. The one weird one is your coral snakes, but they don't really have an anti-venom like that's approved by the FDA.
So they do, but the University of Florida is the only veterinary clinic in the United States that carries it.
Okay, so only search in Jacksonville if you're worried about coral snakes, or Gainesville.
Or Gainesville.
Wrong place. So there's a couple of like really great Facebook groups that are filled with experts. Snake identification gets you an answer within minutes of what species of snake that you're dealing with. You just snap a picture, you upload it, and people will tell you if it's venomous or not. Really great resource. And after you get bit, the National Snake Bite Support, it's run by human docs and vets. And they will work with your care team at your vet or your doctor. And they're experts in this. Snake avoidance training. It's brutal. It's you expose them to a snake and they get hit by lightning. But I don't really mind that if it saves their life, The rattlesnake vaccine, that's kind of controversial. Some some studies are saying it does nothing. Some things are saying.
So hang on, I'm gonna challenge your rattlesnake vaccine, and this is what made the most sense for me. Is a vaccine waits for your immune system to have a response. Your immune system cannot act in response in the time that a snake bite takes effect.
Sure, sure, absolutely. So I mean, I would consider any venomous snake bite, you get them to the vet as soon as possible. I'd consider getting one second. Hey Jace, can you help Audie with whatever she needs? Thank you. So
I'm saying that as somebody who actually used to get the rattlesnake vaccine for my dog who got bit by multiple snakes in her lifetime.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said I got rattlesnake vaccines for my dogs over the years, and that the dog that was vaccinated the most was actually bit by the most snakes in my life. And it never stopped her from going to the vet and getting treatment.
Sure. Okay, great. Yeah, I mean, and you have to no matter what. Like
Yeah,
and it's kind of gimmicky, I think, because like their whole thing to sell it to you is oh, it'll buy you time, but it's
it doesn't.
still a medical emergency that you have to go.
Correct.
The snake armor for dogs, it exists, but it really only covers their chest and neck, and the majority of snake bites happen on dogs in their face or their lower limbs. If you all figure out how to protect that without killing them, that's probably $1 million idea. So my dog got bit. Now what? We remove all gear, all collars, everything from the dog. Keep the bite above heart level. Keep them from walking and exerting any energy. Carry them out, and always know what vets have anti-venom in stock. Don't suck the venom out or use a venom sucking device. That doesn't work. Don't give any medications, steroids or Benadryl. That's an old wives' tale that doesn't do anything. Don't try to capture the snake or kill it. As I said earlier, there's really like the one type of anti-venom handles most things except our coral snakes. They're the weirdos. Don't put ice on the bite. Don't put bandages or compression. So we're getting into field med. So the idea, we're avoiding preventable deaths, prevent additional casualties, go home. Your bark for trauma, bleeding, airway, respirations, and then keep warm and evacuate. So this is, of course, for our dogs that get hit with serious trauma. Pack deep open wounds and apply pressure. Use quick clot and stop bleed. Compression wrap extremity wounds, and know that they don't have as much blood as we have. Your airway, clear your airway if needed. Reposition the head and neck. Pull the tongue out and down between the lower canine teeth, and clear debris from airway carefully, because that's the business end of the dog. Respiration, look, listen, and feel for an equal rise and fall of the chest. Listen for abnormal breathing sounds. You're gurgling and wheezing. An occlusive dressing. I carry around bags and duct tape. So if you get a sucking chest wound in your dog, you're able to seal it up, and get it going to the vet. Hypothermia is one of our leading causes of death. Below 97 is clinically hypothermic. When they're losing a lot of blood, we want to wrap with a blanket or jacket for transport. Things that help too, guts need to stay wet. Sucking chest wounds wheeze. Always apply pressure for bleeding, and tourniquets are for limbs only. Write down the time if you're using a tourniquet. They're not always needed, but definitely for full or partial amputation. If your dog, for some reason, loses part of his leg out there, definitely tourniquet it. This is a helpful kind of picture on where to chest seal, where to pack with gauze. where to give an abdominal dressing, etc. For bloat, can be caused by eating or drinking excessively pre or post work. Always an emergency. Your signs are your enlarged stomach, drooling, restlessness, may try to vomit but can't, rapid heartbeat and breathing. So now that we're all paranoid, your Benadryl is 1 milligram per pound, Pepto 1 teaspoon for 10, Imodium. This is all good. Good stuff to know before we get our dogs on. So this is another thing that I find super, super important. Conditioning our working and sport dogs. So anything we ask our dogs to do, it's extremely important that they are up to the task physically. Fit dogs have a much lower rate of serious injuries. That's a fair disclaimer. You called my dog fat. So I hand stretch my dogs. We do cookie stretch, flexing I'm using my hands. My video thing isn't working, but a play bow, get that back going. Our back stretch, I put them in a down, and I'm looking while they're in a down. I raise their head up and raise their head down, and you'll see that the muscles in their lower back really flex. And then our warm up and cool down walk. I think Joni's in the chat here. She's like an expert at conditioning dogs and really, really badass. I strength build outside of actual work. Your position work with proper forms, your sit down and stand, with your front paws being in one spot. So I'm looking for that tucking sit, that sliding down, and a full push-up stand. Once they can do that on the flat, then I add that on like a thick mat that they have to use their or on a fitness ball or peanut. Box jumping is another thing I use a lot. It's literally you take a box, you put them in a sit, you ask them to jump on it, right? So you're using those explosive muscles to get up there. Drag work with a proper harness. Again, this is more Joni's section than me, but a proper weight pull harness and dragging weights with your dog is like one of the best low impact exercises. Really helps build those muscles. A lot of people I know will use the X Dogs and the Acto bands. I think X Dog is out of business now, but it was like a weight vest. And the Acto bands are like almost like ankle weights for a dog. They were developed by a more physiologically sound vet than the X Dog one was. So if you're choosing between one and the other, I'd go with the Acto bands. If you have a really nice high drive dog, your spring pull work is really badass. Spring pull meaning your garage spring attached to a tug toy, and they get to work those core muscles really good. And rhinos, that's again, that's for a really high drive crazies. You put them in a muzzle, like, of course, one of the big ones that they can breathe out of really good, and you kick around a jolly ball, and they use every muscle in their body to try to bite the jolly ball, right? And they can't get it, so they're trying to flex, and really, really a good exercise. Building cardio, your trotting, swimming, sprints, and for your crazies, your slat mill. Really get them going. It's really nice weather. Get out there and bike with those dogs, in distance. Really, really important stuff. Building your flexibility, your cookie stretches, going from the nose to their hip and the nose to the shoulder and holding. Hand stretching. I'll lift my dog's legs up. Of course, I can't get my video thing to work, or I would just show you guys how to do this with the dog. But if anybody wants to know, I'll do a separate video, or I'll send y'all a separate video. Building body awareness, also really important. Learning how to foot target, balancing on fitness equipment, and formal agility training will teach your dog where their legs are, so they don't say, hold my beer and watch this, and ditch you some new vet bills. Whenever I'm conditioning a dog, and again, like Joni's the expert at this, but one of my dogs we got on the ESPN doing the racing stuff, and I swear by this stuff. This is the FIT principle. So anytime you change one thing in your dog's workout, it's one thing. You change the frequency, intensity, time, or type. Too much too soon will only lead to injury. So applying that principle, if my dog is dragging 40% of her body weight for 10 minutes, 3 times a week, how do I safely apply FIT to my conditioning program? My frequency, I'm going to increase it to 4 times a week. My intensity, I'm going to increase to 50%. My time, increase by 5 minutes. My type, instead of strength training, I'm going to focus on cardio instead. And even in hardcore conditioning mode, only change one thing a week. Physical fitness helps avoid injury and keeps those dogs working longer. And then I think this is the last part. This is just like a list of crap that I bring in the woods on a call. These are the things I bring every time. More water than you think you'll need. Honestly, it should suck to carry around the amount of water, enough for you and the dog. If a CamelBak, multiple bladders, one isn't enough. Good shoes, sterile gauze, and Ziplocs. More for our live find people there, but I still would have it. Vet wrap in Ziplocs. Bleed stop. I swear by that stuff. Disposable gloves. A knife or scissors. Super glue or vet bond. A lot of times you can avoid stitches and just glue it on the spot. A lighter. A slip lead for any loose dogs. I know a lot of people on searches will tell you that's a really huge hazard. Loose random dogs coming at you. I'm going to bring my reward for my dog. Things I should always have is a tourniquet. If I'm working a really rough area, or if I'm working a police dog, I'm going to have Narcan for my dog. A lot of times your health department will give you Narcan for free. But Publix and Walmart sell Narcan if you don't want to go to the health department. Benadryl and hydrogen peroxide. The hydrogen peroxide is to induce vomiting. Vaseline and Neosporin. Thermometer. Spare socks in my Ziplocs. Man, this would save my life if I put that in my pack every time. Because getting those wet shoes and everything else, it sucks. Work gloves, really good for those thorny areas. A compass when GPS fails. An external battery for your cell phone. Meds for yourself. And these are things that I would consider just for the dog. These are the only shoes that I've found that my dog can run full ass in and they still stay on. The Rough Wear Grip Treks. They you have to buy them 2 at a time because a lot of times their front feet are smaller than their back feet, but I've tried them all and this is the only one. Rec Specs or your doggles for your thick areas so we're not getting eye injuries. A muzzle. Oh, dang it. I think that might be even the last slide, of course. And your high calorie paste. You can get that at any like kind of more hardcore dog store. It'll just keep them going even when they're tired. It's kind of like a Red Bull. But anyway, guys, that's all I got for tonight. I will shut up. And does anybody have any questions on anything? Hang on. And let me see. I think my
actually have
headphones.
something to bring up about the snake bites.
Okay.
So the current best practice for those is to keep it at the level of the heart. Whenever you elevate it, it increases the risk of tissue damage and compartment syndrome, really bad stress,
Hang on.
swelling.
My thing just
And
died.
keeping it level at the heart is what's going to prevent most of that.
I'll be honest with you,
Are y'all
most
there?
times the dog are in such pain from the snake bite, you just let the dog do whatever they want.
Oh, geez. Um, give me 2 seconds. I gotta charge my headphones up just a second.
You puppy dog.
Or let me join this call on my phone so I can actually hear. Let's see. Join.
Recording in progress.
Okay. I'm gonna close this down on mine. All right.
That's a good picture.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
I can
cool.
hear you.
Does anybody have any questions or anything to add to anything we talked about tonight?
Good lecture. Thank you.
Oh yeah, no
Yeah.
worries, dude.
I don't have any questions. It was really, really well informed.
Awesome. Awesome. If anybody wants any copies to the to these PowerPoints, just message me or something and I'll get them to you. I can't really think of anything else.
Do you have a thing for the stretches for the dogs, or should I just like Google dog stretches?
What I can do is I'll video I'll video with my dogs and then I'll just send them to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no worries, dude. Anybody
hear me?
else? I can
No,
hear
thank you,
whoever the
Morgan. Thank you so much.
Dude, no worries.
Especially for me with a new puppy. This is a real refresher going back to square one and going through some
It's
of
so
this stuff
hard
that
restarting.
I've forgotten. So I really appreciate it.
Of course, man, anytime.
So-
I was just gonna say really quick with snake bites for at least our search team people, if it does happen on a search in the woods, please do radio back to base immediately. You know, carry your dog out of there, yes, but then we can start coming to you at the same time to get them out of there faster. Especially if you're gonna have trouble carrying. We got a lot of people who can help. So that's
a
it.
great point, Onwin. Great point.
Yeah.
So, anyone else?
Morgan, once we hang up, I'm gonna contact you for the slides. I have a bunch of questions about conditioning and stuff because you know my crackhead. I've been doing some conditioning with her because she is so high drive that I think I'm gonna need to continue to kind of heighten that a little bit with her.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I'm absolutely will help any way I can.
And then the high calorie paste, that is actually a really good idea as well. I've never really thought about that. So I'm definitely going to pick some of that up.
You know, and that's something I stole from like old school hound hunters.
Mhm.
Like they use that when their hounds are slowing down, and I swear by it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, because
When you say Red Bull, you say it's like Red Bull. What? How much
Deuce.
like Red Bull? Because Deuce is pretty.
We're not asking. It's not like it's not crazy. We're not actually
Okay.
giving them a Red Bull, but it just kind of gives them that extra boost. And especially when we're working our dogs for like long days, a lot of times, you know, we just don't want to see weight loss happening or anything. So we want to replace some of those calories that they're burning.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
No worries.
Do you have a recommendation for which one? Because I think I've bought cheaper ones and they haven't been that great in the past. If you have a recommendation of like one you've used, that would be great.
Honestly, I pick whatever is on sale at Jeffers. So I'm a cheapskate, dude. Like, I don't know if you know that, Amanda.
Does Chewy?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to pop off here. All my alarms are going off on me, but I'm definitely interested in more conditioning stuff. As you know, Walter, he's a sprinter. He doesn't go the long distance, so I'll just need more info on that.
Definitely. I can do that for sure.
Just since I got the fat, slow dog, is there any speed for dogs?
Like calorie paste.
I'm
Vicky,
sorry.
you're already killing people. What's buying drugs gonna do?
I just need some dog speed to get my girl pepped up.
That's fair. You know, and it's like I try to feed a really high protein, diet for my hardcore working dogs. My dogs that are not really working at as high of an intensity, I feed a less protein food. But I'm always like for Phil and Wahini, they're always getting at least a 30-20. And
I'm not
sometimes
gonna
feeding
admit
them
what
that
I
rocket
feed
fuel will help.
She's like
That's fair.
Dunkin' Donuts spaghetti,
Seen you guys share a sub sandwich the other day, a couple weeks ago.
Fish.
So
yeah, no, thank you. That was great.
no worries. No worries. So anybody else have anything?
Not right now.
Okay, cool. Well, with that being said, I know it's like midnight for my East Coast people, and I will let y'all go and stop listening to me talk at a full tilt pace.
More